Hi friends, today we are working on a block for a string quilt. If you've never done it before, it's a lot like paper piecing, but instead of using a paper foundation, you use a thin fabric foundation. So this video will show me working on one block. It actually consists of 4 6.5-inch blocks, and it's just random. As you can see here, I've started one down the center. You can start from the corner or you can start from the center. I just like starting from the center. And you do 2 pieces, 2 strips of fabric face to face, and you sew a 1/4 inch seam. And then you flip it open, and probably you should press, but I didn't want to jump up and down to the ironing board, so I just finger pressed. And then I add another strip face down and another 1/4 inch seam. And as you're working on it, it kind of looks really messy, but when you trim it up, it'll look really nice. So here we are, another one. And these are some strips my friend Julia just gave me today, and they're probably about 2-inch strips. Some of the other ones that I have worked on just using scraps, some were thin, maybe 3/4 inch, and then some were wider, just of various sizes. And I'm just pulling these out of the bag she gave me, so it's really random colors and patterns. Okay. And you just keep adding and sewing and flipping until you cover that whole square. This should cover the last corner. And it's pretty forgiving if you don't maintain that 1/4 inch seam. It's fairly forgiving. And I'm just kind of trimming a little bit of the longer strips so I can reuse them on another block. But I'll actually use a rotary cutter to square it up. And that finished that corner. So as you can see, it's a little, oh, now I'm going to flip around and do the other sides. I started in the center and worked to one corner, and then I'll work to the other corner. Okay, and then we will flip it and see if it needs another one. So there's still a little bit more. So one more strip should complete that block. And I really like the idea of just pulling out of the bag randomly, because it's really hard if you don't have it random like that. You tend to try to be matchy, and it looks more interesting to me when it's just totally random colors and patterns and pieces. So after sewing this strip, and I sewed that a little bigger than a 1/4 inch because I wanted it to thin down the one before it a little bit. Oh, it looks like there's going to take one more piece to finish off that edge. And that's that. And you see it's looking really messy. I'm cutting off some big excess, but when we carry it to the cutting board and actually trim it down to the 6.5, it looks really nice. And there's another block. And like I said, you just keep adding those strips and covering that piece of foundation. And you see how you have that little corner. If it's just a little bit, then you might be okay not finishing it because you're going to square it smaller than that foundation block. But in this case, I wanted to make sure, so I added that final little strip. And this is the third block, and we're almost covered with it. It's just a lot of repetition, but honestly, quilting is very relaxing, and the piecing is probably not as relaxing as the actual sitting and hand quilting, because you do have to pay attention to your seams and your sizes a little bit more. But I would highly recommend the art of quilting. It's one of those old skills that is being lost, so it's really neat to see the resurgence of people being interested in it. And that was the fourth block. Here we are. We are pressing it down, and then we're going to square it up. And your goal is to have a 6.5-inch block, so you can kind of move it around to get the best coverage and that you like. So it's not real particular. And this rotary cutter needs a new blade so that it should not have to go back over it, but those seams are a little thick. And you'll just go around and trim up the four sides and trim the block down to a 6.5-inch block. If you notice on my ruler, I don't know if you can see it, but there's little dots, and those are adhesive sandpaper dots, and it really helps to keep your ruler from slipping when you're trimming. It kind of holds the fabric a little bit better. So I have a mark on my ruler that makes a 6.5-inch square, and that's what I'm lining up with the corner, and then I can just trim the other two sides and it becomes a 6.5-inch square. If you've never used the rotary cutter before, just be very careful with it because it's easy before you get used to it for it to slip, and it will cut you pretty bad. And there, see how nice it turns out? It's pretty magical how that happens when you trim up those excess ends. And there's 4 of them. You do the same thing. Just trim it up into 6.5-inch, and then you'll see we're gonna choose our pattern is like a upside down V and a V, and they'll meet together, and it makes like a chevron pattern when you put the 4 blocks together. String quilts are a great way to use up scrap fabric from other projects too. It looks really nice. And the third one. And you know, fabric's gotten super expensive, so another cost-saving idea is to shop thrift stores and look for 100% cotton shirts, especially like a men's long sleeve shirt. Just make sure it's 100% cotton. There's a lot of neat fabrics and plaids and stripes and stuff especially, but you'd be surprised how much fabric you could get out of a men's cotton shirt. And we just flip it around and do the other side, getting it 6.5-inch square. It's a little repetitive, but you just get those 4 blocks trimmed up and then you join them. Okay, so once we have those, then we will take them to the sewing machine, arrange them the way that we would like, and we'll do a 1/4-inch seam to join those blocks. We'll join 2 and 2 and make a row, and then face together we'll go down the center. And then you got 2 and 2, and then we make sure that the pattern is going the way we want it to, and just make sure you nestle those seams in the center or it'll sew flat. And really you could clip these or pin these and you would be even more accurate. Okay, and now we're ready to press it flat. So here we are. Some people press their seams open. I tend to press mine almost like a windmill in a circle flat. It's okay to do either one. Different people like different ways. And then we'll press it from the front, just trying to make sure we don't have any areas where it's overlapping or anything. And those little tiny corners sometimes can turn up on you. And that is a 12.5-inch string quilt block. Beautiful. And I'm just checking it. It's pretty forgiving. I think I was off about 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch or so on one side. But it's pretty forgiving because you have a lot of bias edges, so you have some stretch in it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really hope to see quilting make a big comeback. If you think about it, subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell and give me a thumbs up. I'm trying to put some new stuff out here. There we go.